Shalom from Jerusalem. My name is Albert Veksler. I'm the director of Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast. And we are here in our office with answers for allies, with a good friend, Amit Barak.
Shalom.
Shalom. We are actually here on the Orthodox Day of Christmas. And Amit, you have been working with many Arabic-speaking Christians in Israel. As a Jewish person, you've been building the bridges. So this is an important day for the Arabic-speaking Christians.
Yes, very important day for the many Orthodox who lives in the land here, in the land of Israel, and also around in the Middle East. Those who are left, not many left, but those who are left in the Middle East, it is a very important and happy day for them.
But you mentioned in our earlier talks the Arab Spring and this horrible, murderous campaign against the Christians. What is the outcome? How many are still left?
In the beginning of the 20th century, Christians in the Middle East were around 20% of the population, 20%. And today we left with 4% of Christians in the Middle East. We can say that Israel is a safe haven for Christians. And only in Israel they live and feel in freedom, and they live in democracy and secure. What happened during those years of so-called the Arab Spring is that Christians in Israel, many of the Christians in Israel understood that they need to be part of the state of Israel, equal part. They are Israeli citizens. You can find Christian judges in the Supreme Court, directors of hospitals. In every field you can find Arabic-speaking Christians. But as a community, the first time that someone came out and said in public, we should stand with Israel, we should volunteer the IDF, they are not obligated to serve by law, was in 2012. After they saw the genocide, the persecution, the murder of Christians around the Middle East. So that was a wake-up call for many of the Christians in Israel, for a group of leaders of Christians who served in the IDF, in the police, of few faith leaders like Father Gabriel, who came out and said it's about time that we speak what we feel and what we know. We should speak loud. And that was an outcome of Christians here in Israel. And when Christians here in Israel more and more began to volunteer to the IDF and to speak as Israelis, like others, like Jews, like Druze, and to speak about their roots of the Christians from the land of Israel, and the common roots and values with the Jews, that's also affected and still affects Christians in the Middle East and the diaspora of Christians in the Middle East. During the last 10 years, we had many contacts with Christians in the Middle East, in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Syria, and Christians who fled from countries in the Middle East, from Iraq and from Syria, and they live in, most of them in Europe and some in the United States. They contact us, me and my Israeli Christians friends here, and they are more and more supportive and curious about Israel. So one of the important things that I see with building the bridges with the local Christians here is also to build bridges of the state of Israel with Christians from the Middle East. I know that many Christians from the Middle East, whether if they still live in the Middle East or in Europe or the United States or Australia, they want to hear, they want to visit the young generation. They are curious to see and to hear. And I think if we will go, if we will move forward with building the relation here between Jews and Christians, between the Israeli society and the Arabic-speaking Israeli Christian here, that will affect also the relations of the state of Israel with the Christians from the Middle East.
Well, these numbers are horrible that you brought up, from 20% to 4%. It's a major, major drop. And of course, ISIS was targeting Christians on particular. Now, you have been building these bridges between the Israeli society and the Arabic-speaking Christians, and you've been encouraging them to, the Arabic-speaking Christians, to volunteer in the Israeli army. These days are not easy. You just came back from the Gaza, from the active war at that area, and what is the atmosphere with the Arabic-speaking Christians? Are they for Israel, or are they torn because their brothers, you know, are being targeted?
Yeah. So we know that in Gaza there are around 1,000 Christians left. Catholics and Orthodox, only 1,000 left. And in the last years, they live under great fear. Hamas is preventing them from celebrating Christmas and marking a Christian's holiday in public. We read about it from time to time. My Christian friend who read and speak, obviously, Arabic, that's their mother language, they find sometimes things that Christians in Gaza wrote about it. So first of all, I have to understand that, I have to say that when I was in Gaza, I was thinking about Christians in Gaza, how poor they are living there now with the war, with the bombing of Israel from one side and Hamas from the other side. They're really in a very bad situation. And when I see all the international organizations and UNRWA and the Red Cross and all the others, nobody cares about them. Nobody cares.
They don't care about the Christians.
About the Christians. I never saw anything, you know, that they did especially for the Christian community in Gaza. I was never reading something about it. I never saw any project that aimed to help Christians in Gaza. Even if they did, it's not something that those organizations are promoting, because unfortunately, nobody cares about them. A small community, 1,000 left. Unfortunately, the world don't care about them.
So sad to hear. And I mean, we would definitely ask our viewers to pray for these 1,000 Gazan Christians. And even on this day that the Orthodox Christians are celebrating the Christmas, there is no Christmas allowed in Gaza or also in Bethlehem. So you also mentioned some other villages that...
I tell you more than that. Kfar Yassif, it's a village in the Galilee in Israel. It's a mixed village, Christians, Muslim, Druze, but the mayor is Muslim. And I was reading a few days ago that he was trying to prevent of celebrating the Christmas. I don't know if he succeeded. I was busy with, I still was in the army, so you know I didn't have time to search more. But I was reading that at least I know that he was trying to prevent the Christians of celebrating Christmas because of the war of Israel against Hamas. He did it as a punishment against Christians, as a step of supporting Hamas, supporting the terror. A mayor in Israel, a Muslim Arab mayor in Israel.
Now, you said there are 185,000 Christians in Israel, and then among them, how many Arabic-speaking Christians?
About 80%.
80%. What about Judea and Samaria? How many Christians, Arabic-speaking Christians are there?
In Judea and Samaria, under the Palestinian Authority, there is about 1% of 1% of the Palestinian population are Christians. Most of them live in Bethlehem, few of them live in Ramallah, in Zababde, few small villages in the northern Samaria, but most of them fled.
But Bethlehem used to be a totally Christian town.
Bethlehem used to be a Christian town.
How many was there before 1967, 1994, when the Palestinian Authority took over?
It used to be 80% Christians in the early 60s, I would say. In 1995, when late Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, he decided to withdraw from Bethlehem, he received a letter from Elias Frege. He was the mayor of Bethlehem, a Christian mayor. I think Bethlehem always, even today, Bethlehem have a Christian mayor. That's kind of a symbol. Even there's not many Christian left, but they have a Christian mayor. So at that time, in 1995, Elias Frege was the mayor of Bethlehem, and he sent a letter to late Prime Minister Rabin that time, and he asked Yitzhak Rabin that Israel will not withdraw from Bethlehem. He understood what will be the future of the Christians in Bethlehem. And Yitzhak Rabin responded and told him that he should send a letter signed by the head of the churches, that they asked the same. And he could not provide this letter. And Israel withdrew from Bethlehem, and
the result is how many
the result
Christians
is
now
that
in Bethlehem?
Some say 2%, some say 10%. Anyway, the numbers are decreasing.
No, I mean, it's a major drop from 80 to 10. If we take this higher number, it's a major drop.
It's a major drop. The situation is not easy for them.
And it's not because of Israel.
It's not because of Israel, but they still blame Israel, you know. Also the Palestinian Authority, their leaders, also some voices inside the Christian community of Bethlehem. I have Christian friends from Bethlehem, and they understand that the Christians who stayed and didn't left Bethlehem, by the way, the families who are living in Bethlehem, they are not staying in the land at all. They are living to the west, to Australia, to the States, Canada, and Latin America. There's a big community in Latin America. And my friends told me that those who are not living are either families that they cannot provide for themselves. They don't have the power and the money to take this step. And the other side are families which are well connected with the Palestinian Authority, and those voices who blame Israel, we hear. Because they have businesses and they are very connected with the Palestinian leaders.
Now, you have been building these bridges between Israel and Arabic-speaking Christians. There was even a moment that the Aramaic Christians received a special status.
Yes.
What year was it? Was it Gideon Sar as a minister of...
Yes, September 2014, after a work of Father Gabriel Nadaf, and before that, more educational work of Shadi Khalul, they received, Gideon Sar did a very historical step. He did it also after a few scholars wrote papers like Mordechai Kedar, Chazi Mutzafi, and others wrote papers that actually showing the roots of many of the Christians here in the land to Aramean roots and to the Aramaic language. So the Israeli Interior Ministry decided to recognize Aramean identity as one of the identities in the Israeli registry of the Interior Ministry. Israel is the only state in the world who recognized Arameans, and that was a very positive step that Christians in the Middle East and in Europe, Aramean Christians, saw and accept this step of Israel.
Now, talking about the day after the war, we had a very stormy meeting in the Israeli government, really unpleasant. But you are so acquainted, you know the Arabic-speaking Christians, you know the situation with the Arabs in Gaza. What do you think? What is the best way? What is the best kind of scenario for the day after?
For the day after in Gaza, it's a big question. You know, when we were in Gaza and we moved from house to house during the battles, we saw in every house, we saw signs of support of terrorism, whether if it was weapons,
Mein Kampf books?
Mein Kampf books, books of the whole educational system. We saw, you know, when you visit a house, you have the rooms of the children. As a father, it's not nice to enter into a children's room to see the toys, the clothes, the beds. They are children, like my children. But we saw also the materials of schools, the books of the schools. Some of the books are UNRWA schools.
But you also found weapons in children's rooms.
We found weapons, and the books are praising the terror. You see the map of the land of Israel with signs of weapons, you see how they draw the terrorists, praise the terrorists, and how they draw the IDF soldiers. They don't mention Israel. I do not read the Arabic, but I have friends who do read Arabic. But it's also, if you don't read Arabic, it's enough to see what's in the books, to see the pictures, and you see how they praise the terror, they praise violence, blood. You know, in Israel, when you grow up from kindergarten, you always have songs about peace. They always speak with you on the desire for peace. But we didn't see that over there.
But they're taught from the little young age to hate, to kill, and it's a horrible thing that it has basically educated the whole Gaza Strip. It has permeated their mindset, and it's really tragic.
I completely understood that we cannot say that there is Hamas in Gaza. Gaza is Hamas. Gaza is a place of terror, of blood. In every house we found something, whether it was something that supports Hamas or supports PLO, Fatah, or any other terror organization. We really saw evidence in every house. So there are, for me, I don't see that they are innocent and they are uninvolved in Gaza. I believe that those 1,000 Christians who are left in Gaza, they are innocent and they are not involved in terror. I hope. At least I never saw in the last years any Christian terrorists from Gaza. Never. And nothing. But all the other population in Gaza, they are all into it. Now you see how they are using, how Hamas terrorists and the Islamic Jihad terrorists, how they are using children and elders and women. They hide behind them. They send them. We saw also now how they sent elders and children with bags, and our orders were not to shoot children, women, and elders, not to shoot them. And what did they carry in the bags? They carry weapons or equipment to bring to the terrorists. The terrorists, most of the time in the street, when we saw them in the street, when they came out from tunnel and they were running from house to house, they had no uniforms. They were civilians without weapons.
And they sent the children to bring the weapons?
Also, they had weapons in the houses, and they also sent children and elders to carry the weapons in bags.
No, there was a news published. I think the Vatican also reposted it about that there were some Christians killed by the Israeli soldiers. And later the IDF refuted it as a lie. I mean, it's so unfortunate how they use the human shields in Gaza.
Yeah, they are using human shields in Gaza. And few weeks after Israel began bombing Gaza, I saw a video of Arabs in Gaza cursing Hamas, blaming Hamas that their houses are destroyed. But then the ceasefire came, the 1 week of the ceasefire, when Hamas released some of the Israeli hostages and foreign hostages that they kidnapped. And I saw videos of civilians in Gaza praising the victory, praising Hamas. So, you know, they're hiding inside and they are using civilians, but they are getting all the supports from the civilians. Civilians are willing to do it.
It's so sad to hear. So going back to the question of the day after, do you believe that, as you know, after the Second World War, the Germany was denazified? Do you think it is possible to de-Hamas Gaza?
From their hearts, no. But that's what we are doing now, you know, on the ground and underground, to destroy Hamas, to destroy Islamic Jihad and other terror organizations. But it's something that we will not be able to change among them, because that's how they are growing up. That's what they teach them. That's their educational system, the schools, UNRWA.
United Nations
schools funded by the international community.
US taxpayers, mainly European taxpayers.
Exactly.
And that's the result.
That's the result. That's the result. Those terrorists that broke into the kibbutzim and the communities on the Gaza border, together with civilians, together with children and women, elders, some of them worked in those communities in the kibbutzim for 20 and 30 years. They worked there. They brought the information.
Received their salaries.
Yeah, they received salaries. They received everything from those communities. The communities trusted them. They broke also on October 7th. There are videos. They came also. Yeah. So what I want to say is that it's very hard to build any trust now. I don't think we can build any trust. It's just inside them. It's all hateful.
Maybe the Christian communities that are left, the Christian schools, could be an answer.
At least they should keep themselves, you know, out of it.
Amit, thank you so much for being with us today. And on this Orthodox Christmas Day, we of course want to wish all the Orthodox viewers Merry Christmas. But we are very, very sad, of course, to hear that no Christmas celebrations are allowed in Bethlehem, in Gaza, in certain Arab villages. And we ask you to stand with us and pray for the peace of Jerusalem, because those who love Jerusalem will prosper, and those who bless the seed of Abraham will be blessed.